Hello and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. Hi, I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk about getting unstuck in your physical therapy business with Jamey Schrier, always the most famous Jamey Schrier from Practice Freedom U. Jamey has helped hundreds of growth-minded practice owners achieve uncommon success without the burden of working excessively in the clinic. And today he's talking about a common problem that practice owners face, which is feeling stuck in the business you've created. And he's going to share why he thinks so many PT owners feel stuck and how you can get unstuck. So Jamey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back, Neil. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Let's do this. So why do so many practice owners feel stuck?
Well, first of all, how many is so many? I did some research and I looked for some studies and I saw a couple studies. One study said 76% of CEOs feel isolated. 3/4 of entrepreneurs, and I imagine we can be put into either one of those categories as physical therapy private practice owners, 3/4 feel a sense of burnout. So we're talking about a lot of people. 3 out of every 4 people are feeling this sense of isolation and burnout, which I like to call just being stuck or trapped in your business. So the question is how do we get there? How do we get trapped in our business? And, having been in the physical therapy industry for 30 years, I'm an OG, as you are. We're OGs. And having worked with literally hundreds and hundreds of private practice owners, I've seen common threads with people that feel stuck in their business. They feel trapped in their business. And the simple answer, and I know we'll dive in more, but the simple answer is letting go. That's the simple answer. The step below letting go is trust. Trust is the reason, or in this case, perhaps a lack of trust is the real deeper reason of why we are stuck in our practices.
Very interesting. Yeah, I can see that. So we're talking about, obviously the trust, right? And then the ability to level up, right? Let go, help other people do the things that you are doing all yourself, right? And you can't build a business on just yourself.
No, I mean, you can. It's called a self-employed business.
Yeah.
And if that's what someone wants, if you're a CPA and you're just like, hey, I just want to run a kind of a mom and pop shop and I just want to take on clients and maybe have an assistant help me out, you can do that. That's great. But if you want to try to create something beyond you that requires other people to help you, well, then when you are hiring people but not allowing them fully to do their job because there's a deeper or concern about letting go, so you end up not only doing your job, but you're kind of doing some of their job and all of that, you start to have more and more added to your plate, which just eats away at your hours. And here's the biggest thing, Neil. There are times where you are doing something that you love. And I'm sure you have them, and I know I have them. I was doing it this morning. I worked 4 hours this morning, and I swear it was 10 minutes long because I was in the zone. I was in the flow doing what I love to do, percolating, ideation, and all that kind of stuff. So it's not just you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed because you're doing things that you don't like. You're doing things that don't light you up. And there's more of those things on your day-to-day than are the things that you love. So I have the saying that says, work less, earn more. But the deeper thing behind it is work less doing the things you don't like. Do more of the things you do like because you'll never see those things as work. And those things are going to help build and grow your business. But if there's a level of trust, I don't know if I trust people can do the things as well as I can. I don't know if I can trust this person doing that. I don't know if I can trust my team doing that. then that lack of trust is going to keep you connected to that and don't allow them fully to take ownership. Even though rationally, logically, we know we want to do that, but let's face it, we're not rational, logical people when it comes to being in business. This is an emotional game. And those are the things that, really are keeping us in this place of being trapped and being perhaps unfulfilled and feeling a sense of just isolation and eventually burnout.
hmm Yeah, I totally hear you on that. And I think it was excuse me, I think it was Dan Martell that says 80% done by someone else is 100% awesome.
Oh,
And and
it's so funny. The Pareto principle, the 80/20 rule comes out all the time.
mhm.
I love that. Like, look, let's go 80% of someone else versus 100% of yourself.
Yeah.
But again, that is a nice quote. But when you are actually in there doing it, the emotion associated with that is deep and I'm not saying it prevents you, but you're just like, you just don't do it. You just don't
Mhm.
let it go, which Neil is even more frustrating. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I had my private practice, I had a few locations in Maryland for 15 years. And at the beginning, no idea what I was doing, right? Stressed out, overworked, overwhelmed, just because I was clueless. So I started to invest money in how do you do the business of physical therapy? Okay. I started learning business. I started learning, reading books, doing webinars, that kind of stuff. Then the next level of frustration came. I knew what to do and I still wasn't succeeding. So there's two separate things. One, you just don't know. Two is but for whatever reason, you're still not doing it. That level of frustration, that level, what leads to burnout to me is much worse because right now information is free. There is nothing you should have to pay for to know. You got chat, you got AIs, you got Google, you got all that. So knowing information now is not the issue. We
Mhm.
have an abundance of free knowledge, but actually diving in deeper, which is I do want to get to today, diving in deeper to what's really holding you back, that's keeping you stuck, that's the part that chat and AI is not addressing. And that's the part that really can move the needle for you.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so, do you think this is a practice specific problem, or is this pretty common across different entrepreneurs?
Well, it's certainly not a private practice issue. It's an entrepreneur business issue.
Mhm.
Right now, the number one thing we all face as a problem is too much. There's too much coming at us. There's too much for our brains to handle, right? You add in social media, you add in the events that are happening right now in our country, and you add in all the decisions you have to make with business, all the questions you're getting from your employees, all the stuff around declining reimbursements. I mean, that is a ton of information. Your brain cannot handle that. So it has to filter, 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 filter. The problem is sometimes it might be filtering something that we need. Sometimes it's filtering something that we don't. But at the end of the day, there's too much information for us to be able to stay focused. Focused. There was a survey put out, and it asked I don't know how many people, hundreds of people, and I just heard this weekend, and it said, "What is the number one mindset issue that you have?" And every single person, most of the people, like 97%, said focus or inability to focus or lack of focus.
Mhm.
Which tells me this, Neil, if you take away the crap, take away the stuff, take away like all of the junk, and you just went down to the core, you know what to do. You know what's most important to you. But when you add all this stuff, it becomes too much to make a decision. See, the word priority did not become plural until like 50 years ago. It goes against what the word actually means. How could there possibly be multiple priorities when priority means singular?
Mhm.
So, you know, we are fighting so much information that we can't make decisions about anything, or we make quick, irrational decisions that later on become a problem, maybe bigger than the original problem we were trying to fix, which
Hmm.
creates more of an issue that costs more time, more money, and more frustration. That's what I see with a lot of private practice owners in the physical therapy world. It's really too much stuff, unable to focus, distracted, but needing to make decisions and making decisions that we think are great, but aren't necessarily aligned where we want to go that come back to bite us.
Yeah, that's really a great viewpoint on that, and I think it's so true, because that really is part of what burnout is, right? It's confusion, and you don't know what to focus on, and you got this fire hose of life and business coming at you and problems. And so do you see with the people that you work with and coach the the confusion part, the deluge of data, right? And them trying to make decisions, is that concentrated in certain areas of the business, or like, the leadership, or billing and finances, or treatment, or managing people?
Yeah, I haven't seen it in any one particular aspect. I think when we as owners of a business, if we are internally confused, if we do not have clarity internally, it comes out as confusion externally.
Hmm.
So if you're not clear about your vision of what you want. You and I were talking about vision earlier. You just know what you want. You know why you want it. You know the meaning it has, the impact it has for you, for your family, for your patients, for your staff and stuff. And then you all of a sudden start focusing on marketing, which is supposedly connecting with your ideal person. You could be doing a lot of work and a lot of effort around something that's not aligned with where you're trying to go. That creates a disconnect.
Hmm.
It's like, I always relate it to like the spine. The best spine is one that is perfectly aligned with movement in each of the segments, and it can move in lots of directions. There's no problem. But when there's one area that doesn't work quite as right, the other areas will take over, and eventually that area is going to become problematic. But what happens, as we know with the spine, the problem starts showing up in other parts of the body. So if there is an issue, which what I call alignment, who you are and what you're about, and the actions that you're taking to move you forward are not all succinct with one another, you start to get problem areas. And it could show up in marketing. I tell you where it really shows up, Neil. It shows up in hiring.
Hmm.
Hire people just to check the box and move on. We don't spend any particular amount of time with ads. We don't spend time about who we are, what we're about, what our values are, and how do we attract someone. We don't spend time training and onboarding someone. We know to do it, but we're overwhelmed. So then we hire someone. Internally, we might feel it. 6 months later, we're like, this was a mistake.
Hmm.
They're not as productive as we hoped for. They might be causing a little bit of drama, causing some problems, not engaging with the business, and all kinds of other things. How much is that decision that we made, that was our decision, our choice, now costing us in the business? And if you have a bigger company, multiply that by 5 or 6 or 7 not so great hires. It's not that they're bad people. They're just not the right person for what your business is about, because you didn't take the time to figure out what is your business about. Who are you, where you're going, so they can consciously and clearly know what they're a part of. This is the type of stuff that we begin with our clients, making sure that they have these things in place. If not, you're just hiring people for a warm body. I mean, I think I shared this one with you before. I used to hire people for 2 reasons: a pulse and a license. That was it. You got a
Hmm.
pulse and a license as a therapist, you're good to go in my book. Oh, by the way, the pulse was optional. All I cared about is a licensed therapist. I mean, it's funny, but if you look at my staff at the time, it was so disjointed. 90% of them wouldn't even be on my staff right now. It's not their fault. They're not bad people. I didn't take the time to figure out what I'm about and why the right people should come to me and why the wrong people should go somewhere else. That's us. But in a world of overwhelm, nobody either makes time or feels like they have time to do it,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
then multiplies the problem.
yeah, I'd have to agree too. Like hiring is definitely one of those super critical areas because your business has systems, it has positions, right, to deliver care, to operate the business. And in order for you to go forward and grow the business, you have to, get the right people in the right seats in the business to do the work, right? To make
Yeah.
things happen. And, I like the analogy of, slow to hire, fast to fire, right? So because
Mhm.
I've been in that time so many times where yeah, I need that therapist yesterday, right? And we're all struggling because we don't have someone on board just yet. And it's so easy to make that wrong hire, right? The wrong fit for your culture or what your audience is about.
Yeah.
Um, but then that sets you up for so many more problems in the future just because you
And the
didn't take a
people
little
that
extra time.
and the people, Neil, that struggle the most in business that I've seen, and I don't care if they're $500,000 or 5 million. I've seen it all through the gamut. They do the opposite of what you just said. They
Hmm.
are fast to hire and slow to fire. They're fast to hire because they're just trying to get it done. They're slow to fire because they don't want to have to go through that again. And they feel bad. And they look at everything non-objective to be like, well, maybe they'll turn it around. We see what we want to see.
Hmm.
And this is why it's so important that I believe that all of us need some type of mentor, some type of outside perspective, because we're so close to all of this and it's so darn personal to us. So, but what you said was spot on, except it's the opposite of the people that get in trouble.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too what I'm really taking away from you is sort of to unstick yourself, just to kind of realize like how you have to change as a person, right? How you have to adapt from, and I think we've talked about this in the past, like the different thresholds of business. So like maybe like 500,000, million, 3 million,
Yeah.
5 million, 9 million. You have to become a different leader to hit those, and your skill set has to change, right? You have to level up basically yourself as a CEO to get to that next level. And I'm just curious, kind of things that you've seen with different practices that way.
Yeah, there's a question that I think is a really important question and for all your listeners. And the question is this, assuming you want to grow and all that, who do I have to become in order to manage, lead, own a business of blank? So if you're at 500,000, but you want to grow to 2 million, who do I have to become? What kind of leader do I have to become to own and operate a successful business at 2 million? You see, what happens is that comes first. You're familiar with the be, do, have.
Yeah.
Most people operate on have, do, be, meaning, well, give me the $2 million practice first, then I'll do the things I need to do to become the person to run 2 million. And it's like, no, you have to start upgrading who you are. You have to start becoming that type of leader, which is, well, where am I not that type of leader? Most likely it's in communication, how you show up. A $2 million owner is not handling the things that a $500,000 owner is. So a $2 million owner knows how to delegate. Well, if you don't know how to delegate and you don't do it properly and you don't allow yourself to let go, you'll never get the 2 million or 5 million or whatever. So we know what we have to do. See, I believe we're not broke and we don't need fixing. It's all already within us. We're very smart, intelligent people who have gone through a lot. The problem is some of our wiring is a little outdated or a lot outdated. And we need to start rewriting our wiring or updating our wiring. I mean, can you imagine running your iPhone 16, I guess there's now 17, using an iPhone 2 operation system? I mean, it would be glitches, it'd be all over the place. It would be frustrating. And yet, so many of us are running on an old, outdated system, but we want something more. And then when we don't get it, we look for reasons why it's not happening. And all of those reasons are always external from us. And what I learned on my own, like I lived all this, I tried to look for the external reason forever. And it
Hmm.
wasn't until I turned and looked inside and said, Jamey, who do you have to be to run a business where I didn't have to be there day in and day out, where I could enjoy my time with my family, make good money to live the lifestyle I want? And I realized, well, first of all, I got to show up better. I got to change my mindset and realize that all my employees aren't just greedy people who want to get paid more and do no work, because that's what I thought of them. I never said that to them, but I had a feeling they probably sensed that. So I had to show with more gratitude. I also had to have a business that was more organized. Mine was all over the place. There was no systems or SOPs. It was all off the cuff. Well, the Jamey that's running a business like that can't have that. So I started to look at every aspect of my business, including marketing, operations, billing. And as I started to question those against this vision that I wanted, all of a sudden the answers started to become really obvious. Then it was a matter of implementing them and actually putting them into the action. It makes it, hopefully it sounds simple to people, but simple doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy to do. It took me, a long time to actually do it because I had to get
Hmm.
over a lot of old programming, a
Yeah.
lot of old junk in my head.
Part of it
But
too.
it worked.
Yeah, and part of it too is like building your own confidence level. Like I always think back to a story in our practice, my wife Amy and I, and we had a therapist that was giving us some troubles, right? Um, and I couldn't confront my own navel. I was that lack of confident. I was afraid. I am great with patience, but like confronting my staff about having to work, right? Yeah, that's another story. So, yeah, we used to play called the get a spine game, right? So we cut out paper vertebrae, and every time that we handled a situation with a therapist in a positive way, but one of those times we had to have a talk, right,
Mhm.
which is uncomfortable. We give ourselves a spine, and we build ourselves a spine, and so that was just a game way of us pushing ourselves out of our own comfort zone to confront the reality of the situation and make things go in a better way. And I think that's part of evolving as a leader is putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and having it just takes practice having these abilities to have talks, right? And be good communication and figure things out.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
Yeah, no, I love that, developing a spine. I mean, look, we as leaders, we have to go first. We so many times I hear my clients and people I talk to, they want the staff to do this. You go there, you do that. And I was like, no, you have to do it first. You have to be the example. The old game when we were younger, it's called follow the leader for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to do that and you just want your staff to do it, there is something that you are avoiding. And in your case, you're avoiding that confrontation, that uncomfortableness. Well, guess what overcomes with that? How about practicing that conversation? How about again and again and again? How about changing your mindset that this isn't a negative confrontation? I care about this person. I care about them so much. I don't want them to see themselves continuing not to succeed because I can't imagine how they feel because they know they're not succeeding. All of a sudden, you just changed your your makeup, your plasticity in your brain. You changed how you show up in front of that person. Your energy changed, and they sense that. And all of a sudden, that relationship goes completely different than you ever thought. It's so much better. I have so many examples of people scared to death talking to one of their staff, scared to death. One in particular, His name's Willem. If he's listening, hey Willem. And he had a office manager, a typical office manager, with him for 12 years since he opened the door, and she ran the show. And he's a nice guy, a little bit passive, nice guy. And she ran the show. Like, he was scared to death. And he said, Jamey, I don't think she's the right person. And I said, okay, so are you going to have a conversation? He goes, I'm scared. So we did an exercise where we rehearsed the conversation. So I said, let's start out. Number one, what do you appreciate about her? And he goes, oh man, I appreciate this, this, and this. All right. So that was the positives. And I said, well, what is the area that you feel she's having trouble with? Oh, this, and this. And then I said, well, what are the questions or objections that she may come back to you, which was his biggest fear? She'd say something, so he wrote down like 4 or 5 different things. And I said, well, how would you respond to each of those? So he said, he did that. And then I said, what is the thing you want to happen? What is the action you want to happen? And he gave me that. So he was all worked up, deep breath. He did some push-ups. He went outside for a walk and then had the meeting. And he said, Jamey, it was one of the best meetings we've ever had. It was nothing like I thought. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's because you showed up in a way that was just radiating. And she sensed that. She felt that too. If you showed up in this passive, worried, oh my God, this person's a pain, it would have been a different outcome. So, and that story has been like again and again and again with different people. So that's something that we can help show up. We can help rehearse and practice and, like you said before, increase our skill level to how to better communicate versus avoiding and pretending like, yeah, I know they've been late 6 times, but they've always had a good reason, so I'm not going to talk to them about being late, even though one of your core values is being on time. Mm-hmm. Now the rest of your staff is watching saying, I guess they don't really pay attention to being on time. I guess I won't pay attention to anything else they say either, because they don't seem to really keep people accountable on that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you got to have the core values there. You got to keep everybody, to the same set of standards, right?
Yes.
And be able to and that is a top-down thing, right? If you have the vision, this is where we're at, this is how we operate, and we operate at this level here, and you got to be able to go and have those conversations. Let's come up to the level. This is what we expect, right? This is what we want to be able to do.
And you as the leader, Neil, you have to abide by those standards.
Absolutely.
If you don't, and people always are watching, mm-hmm. they will use them against you. Well, Neil showed up late 3 times to the staff meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, but everyone's always watching. They may not tell you. It's step 1, create those values, create those standards. Step 2, make sure everyone is agreeing and acknowledging and doing those standards. And step 3, when they're not, gently remind them. Mm-hmm. So I let my staff saying, look, if I'm human, I'm gonna, if you feel that I'm like, not following something, remind me. That's okay. I make mistakes or stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it's what kind of culture, I mean, that's when I look at culture. Culture is people imbibing and following the values and the standards. Like, those behaviors is what I look at as culture in a simple way. Well, if you have a bad culture, it's either you don't have the values or no one's really paying attention to them and doing that. So that's what needs to change. And of course, that also starts with the owner.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I've been in business for 24 years now. So I can tell you there's many times where I've felt stuck. And for me, the one thing that looking back, the one thing that I've done every time to get unstuck is work on myself. And I had that realization. So like, I get to a point where it's like, you know what, I'm not showing up. Like you said, I'm not showing up the way that I should. Right. And it's easy because sometimes that CEO position or the top of your practice or your business can be lonely. Right. And that's why you need outside people to help you coach. Right. Because it can be lonely at the top. But you have to show up every day. Right. And when you get yourself in the right mindset and the headspace, mm-hmm. a lot can change. Right. A lot can move forward.
So that's one of the things that what you just said is a huge first step. Anytime I'm talking with people, I'm usually talking with people that are at a high emotional state, right?
Hmm.
They're either they're coming because, oh my God, I'm not making money, I'm trapped in my business, I just don't feel like I'm fulfilled in what I'm doing anymore, and insurance companies, this and that, and competition, all that. Whatever is triggering that state, they're coming into this state. And instead of giving them more stuff, oh, you should do this, this, and this, I go, take a beat. Just just take a breath. Deep breath. And then I give them homework. You know what my homework is?
What?
I want you to take a walk today. I want you to take 5 minutes and I want you to do some just simple breaths. I know, Jamey, but I go, I know you want to do all this stuff. And when they do that, they start to reset. They start to get more clear. Now we can actually have a conversation. You are not going to have any kind of rational conversation with anybody when someone is in a heightened emotional place. And unfortunately, as private practice owners, we are in a heightened emotional state a lot. I mean, a lot. That means you are making bad decisions, not on purpose, not because you don't know better, because when the emotion is high, when that amygdala is firing, fight or flight, when emotion is high, our intelligence is low. And we make decisions that we think are good in the moment,
Hmm.
but then we realize it's not. And the only way to combat that is to bring you down. So the worse you are, the more emotion, the more crazy your business is, my advice, slow down. I started doing meditation. I do, some breathing work. When I'm at the beach, I'll go on the beach and just sit there and watch the ocean with no agenda. But what it does, it helps clear my mind and helps bring back the creativity.
Hmm.
Because your creativity is the magic. When you're stressed, you are not creative, you're mechanical. So take your advice, take that advice. If you are at that stage, just do some simple breaths, a simple walk, just something to slow you and calm down.
Yeah.
Then start addressing some of those
I've always
issues.
had the best ideas when I take a walk at lunch,
Oh yeah.
because you just get yourself out of the office, out of the mechanics of the day to day, and you can, like you said, it's the creation is the magic, right? When you can think and be creative and come up with solutions for common problems that you're facing, right? So let's talk here a little bit about some specific areas where you see practice owners get stuck. And so,
Yeah.
practice marketing podcast. Let's talk about marketing. Where are some of the areas that you see practice owners get stuck when it comes to marketing?
Well, I think that people get stuck when they can't figure out how, right? I know where I want to be. I want to have a business this size with this number of referrals, this many new patients, but I can't figure out how. That creates a high level of frustration because we're smart.
Mhm.
We have pretty big egos, many of us, right? We're prideful, right? We should know this, and yet we don't. And that creates angst. And this is where this whole concept around what I learned a long time ago, but there's recently books around it, this who, not how concept is when you're feeling that way, stop trying to figure out how you can solve it and take a deep breath and saying, you know what? Who might be able to help me with this? First of all, it takes pressure off. Second of all, it introduces a concept of collaboration. It doesn't have to be on you. In fact, if you want to build something of substance, it should not be all on you. That's
Mhm.
if you want a small self-employed, it's going to be all on you. So looking for people like yourself, looking for experts that can talk to you and help you and guide you through them. So when you're trying to figure out yourself, it's going to create frustration and it's going to create this sense of paralysis. When you can't figure it out, you stay stuck, you stay in your place. And that is a huge thing that's going on in your business, whether it's marketing, whether it's operations, whether it's hiring or billing or financials or KPIs. We're trying to figure all of this out ourselves, and it just keeps us paralyzed in this place.
Yeah.
Can I share? I forgot to mention this, but there's there's three primary things that actually keep us stuck. Can I share that real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I mentioned one, it's fear of letting go, right? And the fear of letting go is really the fear of trust, right? Number two is, I like to refer to this as the identity crisis. If Jamey says I should remove myself from the day-to-day of the business to be able to have a different perspective and build and run my business, then who am I? When I have been a physical therapist my whole life, I get lots of praise, lots of adulations, lots of people saying how great I am. That was me. Why would I let that go? That's my identity. Yet, your identity is the leader and business owner. So people struggle and have that identity crisis, which is why I believe when people are asked, what do you do? They say, I'm a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what you do. That's not what you're about. That's an automatic response about the degree you had. So, that is a struggle that people have. They can't let go of that identity. So fear, letting go, identity. The third one is the biggest. The third one are limiting beliefs. So what limiting beliefs is like the iOS example. It's old programming, old conditioning, things that may have happened in your childhood about what you think around people that are successful, what you think about money, what you think about, quote, not working your butt off 60 hours a week. If you've been conditioned and told that you need to go to school, you need to work hard, you need to get good grades, and then get a good job, keep your head down to the grindstone, and just keep working, and things will work out for you. If you bought into that, which so many people have, how's that working for you? And if you're not completely happy and fulfilled with your life, chances are it's the conditioning back then, the programming back then that's affecting you now. Professors and teachers have this influence on us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this idea that what's really keeping you stuck is one of those three, or two of those three, or heck, all three of those three, around the fear of letting go, identity, and limiting beliefs. That's what's going on deeper of why you are where you are.
Yeah, I totally
Not
agree.
at all.
Yeah, totally agree with those top three there, and I've seen a lot of times that identity where you hang up your shingle outside your office for the first time, and you're like, I'm going to be fantastic here. This is going to be a great adventure, and you're still in that mindset. I'm just a physical therapist, right? You don't realize that you've become an entrepreneur.
I'm a PT.
Yeah.
At least say I'm a business owner.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you own? I own a rehab clinic. I own a physical therapy practice. The conversations. So I did this exercise because I always answered I'm a PT, and someone challenged me. I was being coached, and my coach challenged me and said, I want you to say this instead. And I was like, oh my God, that's so uncomfortable. So I said, what do you do? He goes, I'm an entrepreneur. And you go, really? What do you do? Well, I have a business, physical therapy in Rockville nearby. Oh, the conversations that we had were completely different than when I said I'm a physical therapist.
Oh, yeah.
When I said I'm a physical therapist, you know what they did? They pointed to their neck.
Right. This hurts.
When I say I'm an entrepreneur, which I never used that word because I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. But when I started saying an entrepreneur or a business owner, first of all, I started to believe it. Second of all, they then connected with me in that light versus a clinical light.
Mm-hmm.
And that started shifting how people approached me and how I approached myself.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so, Jamey, just kind of, I'd love to have our audience know a little bit more about how you approach unsticking a clinic, right? And so we talked first, like your priorities, obviously around the owner, the leader, changing the mindset. And so, what other areas do you focus on? Is it like systems, financials? Like what's kind of the process there?
Yeah. So, without getting into the weeds, I like to keep this practical. when we look at unstucking yourself or getting untrapped, the first thing we have to do is identify what's keeping you trapped. And all of us know what's keeping us trapped. So a great exercise would be either to just write down the things that are keeping that the things that you're doing in and day out, or you can look at your calendar if you keep a good calendar. Most people don't keep a great calendar of everything that they're doing. So I would just say, last week, write down every task and activity you did. Just write them all down. Then what we're going to do, we're going to put a red, yellow, or green mark on it. So take three highlighters and just put a little circle next to it. Red, you hate to do it. Like when I was in my business, I was doing bookkeeping. Dude, you don't want me doing bookkeeping. That was a red. Yellow means it's neutral. You don't hate it. You don't love it. It's just neutral. Green is, I love it. Green is doing that exercise energizes me. By the way, podcasts would be green.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy doing podcasts. It's awesome talking to you, Neil. Versus me doing the work behind the podcast of setting it up and putting it on there and putting the description and all the SEO. Yeah, that would be a red. So you go through all these things that you're doing. And then the goal is to do what? Get rid of one of the yellow or reds. Eventually, try to get rid of them all. To the point where you wake up one day and 85% of what you do are green. Can you imagine that day?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine waking up and 85% of what you're going to do in that day is all aligned with who you are, your zone of genius? So it starts with identifying one. And then here's the best part. And this kind of comes from a little Dan Martell and some other people that I've worked with. It's so if you're doing that exercise, why don't you just record yourself doing it one more time? That's it. So you're going to do it one more time, whatever that thing is. Could be how you answer the phone, could be whatever you're doing. And then you're going to take that recording and you're going to get it transcribed. So you're going to get a summarized step 1, step 2, step 3. So now you have the recording and the summary. And then you're going to go to someone that you think is capable of doing it. And when that exercise comes up again, that activity comes up again, you're going to be like, why don't you handle this one? Here's what I have. You do it. And again, it has to be something that they like it. If they hate it too, it's not going to work out well. But if they are good at it and like this kind of stuff, they do it. And then what they'll do is they'll take your process and they'll make it better and make it their own. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
If you do that one time and then debrief it, like reflect back, hey, so what went well with this? What could you improve on? What could you do better? What did you learn? And then do it again, and then do it again. I promise you, your entire business, your entire emotional state, how people connect will completely change just by doing that one thing. Where the SOP is, it depends. It could be some of the stuff you're doing in marketing. It could be some of the stuff that you're doing in some operations or hiring or treatment. A lot of times people are burned out from treating. They have a great team that's not doing anything. So how about they get busy treating? Could be KPIs, financials, dashboards, profit loss statements, bookkeeping. I mean, there's a million things as an owner that we could do. So get an inventory of what you're doing, record it, come up with a simple step-by-one checklist, and then look for someone to help you. And if you don't have someone, you could either hire that person, and now we have all kinds of virtual assistants and all that kind of stuff and Upworks and all that other stuff. Or if it's something like, I really want to delegate this whole thing, then you look for someone like yourself, an agency, to take that burden off your plate, who's an expert at doing it, who will do a much, much better job
Mm-hmm.
than you. So that's the kind of the SOP of creating an SOP to make your life better. So it's the SOP of the SOP.
SOP of the SOP. Love it. Yeah, that's a great exercise to do, and I think that's key, right? Key to knowing like all the things. Like, you're just handling your day to day, and you don't realize like all the stuff that you're doing. But writing it down definitely brings to light all the things that you are doing that not necessarily you should be doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, one last thing here. And again, this is what I learned through just doing it myself and being a part of, so many other people, because I've tried lots of different ways. I always start with you, the owner. Wherever there's angst, wherever there's confusion, wherever I just don't feel good, I'm overwhelmed. If we don't address that, giving you more solutions is going to just pile on the mess, and it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
We have to make sure that you, as the owner, have space to think, have space to ideate, have space to create, have space to make good decisions. So if you don't address that angst that's overwhelmed with you, don't bother spending a bunch of money trying to look for solutions. It's not going to work.
Jamey, have you
What,
seen, in regards to that, have you seen where practice owners, they're still just treating too much? They're treating a full caseload and then trying to run this whole business on top of that. And they're trying to go to that next level, but they're not cutting back or delegating enough of patient care to someone else so they have time to work on the business.
yeah, I mean, I used to be kind of a little more lenient with my verbiage when I spoke to people. Now I'm not. You cannot build a successful business if you're in a clinic treating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even making it like you could, because I used to make it where I understand you love it. Look, you have to choose what you want. If you want a successful business, if you want to grow something of meaning and of substance, you can't do the work that it takes to do that. And you and I know what that work entails. If you are delivering the service at the same time, you can't build the relationships here, check them in here, service them here, follow up with them here. Like, you just can't do it. Now, there's some people that say, you know what, but I still love treating. And I said, I'll make a deal with you. Let's back away a little bit, build the company in a way, and then come back and work with some VIP people. VIP people. That's what I do. My business, I have other coaches who handle a lot of our clients who are fantastic. But you know what? Neil, I love to coach. I love it. I have a handful of clients because I love it and it lights me up. But if I did that 30, 40 hours a week, I'd be blown away. I wouldn't be able to handle anything else. And that's what people are doing. So the biggest problem I see between the 400,000 or 500,000 in yearly revenue and the $1.5 million is their treatment schedule. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They're either treating too much or the opposite end. They removed themselves, but they haven't solidified the systems and processes, and they're just not treating, but they're broke. So they have such financial pressure. So there's those are the two extremes.
Makes sense. Makes sense on that.
Yeah,
And so just kind of wrapping up here, do you have any final thoughts or advice for our audience there on kind of getting unstuck, kind of the next step that they could take?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big deal. Like, you being trapped, you being stuck, you're the engine that makes everything else work. We need you, we meaning our industry, your company, your staff, your community. We need you to be at the highest energy level possible. And that does not happen when you feel overwhelmed, when you have a sense of loneliness, a sense of like you're just by yourself. That doesn't happen. You have to start looking at this business selfishly and saying, what can I do? Who do I have to become to start leaning into the person that's going to lead a great company? And that does not happen being overloaded with stuff, but you feel guilty delegating it or don't trust somebody. You have to lean into that. If not, I hate to say it, the world's not going to get simpler. Things are going to get more congested, more stuff, which is going to overwhelm you even more. So take that first step right now. Identify one thing and start looking at how to remove it and delegate it. And don't forget, take that break before you do that.
Great advice there, Jamey. Thank you. And so, Jamey, what's a great way for our audience to learn more about Practice Freedom U and all the coaching that you guys do over there?
Yeah, so you can certainly go to practicefreedomu.com. It's the letter U. There's a quiz there. The quiz, I ask you lots of different questions about your business to help you identify where you are in your business based on the questions I ask and what you can do about it. And that's really key because you want to make sure you're applying the right solution to your business. So you can do that. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just at Jamey Schrier. And coming soon, we might give this, hopefully by the time this episode comes out, we'll have it. We should. Creating Practice Freedom Community. So that will be a free community for basically people looking for and wanting to create a freedom-based business. So that will be available as well.
Fantastic. Love it. Yeah, so if you haven't checked out Jamey and Practice Freedom U and his group over there, definitely check them out. They help so many practices grow to that next level and have freedom in their business and also in their personal lives. So thank you, Jamey, for all that you do for our industry. I appreciate that. And to our listeners out there, thank you for following us here on the Practice Marketing Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well as our YouTube channel where we have tons of free advice for you. And if you'd like to know more about practice promotions and what we do to help market clinics, go to practicepromotions.net. We'll check us out on there. Lots of free tips and advice for you on that. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.